Now, the swine flu helpline closed today after a drop in the number of reported cases. Does this then mean the threat of a pandemic is over? With me now, Dr David Baxter, who's from the University of Manchester. Dr Baxter, welcome.
Good evening.
There was talk in the run-up to this last summer of worldwide pandemics, people falling like flies, and it didn't seem to pan out quite that way.
It didn't. There was certainly a pandemic. There were certainly millions of cases. Lots of countries were involved. But I think in general it was a mild disease, and if that's the sort of thrust of the question, I agree with you that.
I mean, the expectation was, I mean, there was media hysteria at one point. The expectation was that there would be mass absenteeism from work and we'd all be falling like flies. But
influenza has a sort of range of case fatalities. So a very mild disease, like we get seasonally every winter, is probably about 0.7%. With Spanish flu, 2.5% of people died. So you have that whole range. Now, this was at the milder end of the spectrum, but nevertheless, in this country, there were still over 400 deaths from swine flu, albeit usually in high-risk groups, chronic heart, chronic lung, things like that. Because I guess for people like you, perhaps not for me, I'm probably in an at-risk group, but for sort of younger people, fit people, it was generally a mild disease.
I'll take that as a compliment, Doctor, thank you. Was it media hysteria? Did we in the media go too far, or were we alerted to be too excited by this by the medical profession, do you think?
I think at the beginning, when it started in Mexico, because it first appeared in Mexico about March, then in the US in April, and I think we got our first cases around May. At that point, all you can see is an evolving pandemic. You see lots of cases, you see it spreading, but you don't have a feel at that stage for how serious it's going to be. With hindsight now, we can say that there have been millions of cases, but most were mild, and it seems now to be dying away.
Is it possible that I could have had it and not known and just thought I had a severe cold or something? I mean, you say there were lots of cases. Were there cases in Greater Manchester that weren't put in the swine flu case tick box?
Oh, yeah, almost certainly, because although the criteria were fever plus or minus headache, certainly a number of patients I saw didn't have a fever. I suspect you would probably have known about it, because adults are symptomatic when they get the disease, but I think there were lots of cases amongst young children in whom it wasn't recognised because they were just a minor coryzal illness, cold, nothing more than that.
The helpline has been closed down now. What if people get symptoms? What's the advice?
Well, what you do is you ring the helpline and it will direct you either to NHS Direct or to your local GP. Now, in Stockport, what we're doing, all our GPs have been up to speed on this for months and months. All they will do is they will talk to you over the phone, give you medication if they think it's indicated, or indeed see you if your condition is such that they think, well, I need to assess this person.
And going forward, if we have to worry about something like this in the future, do you worry that people are now, oh, that's what they said last time and nothing happened, your sort of approach?
Well, I think if you listen to the clever people who I listen to say swine flu is going to be around for a few more years. And I think the best indication of what's going to happen later in the year, because at the moment, 90+% of all flu is swine flu. There's very little seasonal flu around. Very little. Now, what's going to happen then is probably later in the year, when seasonal flu comes back, it may still be swine flu. The best indicator we've got is what happens in Australia, because Australia is ahead of us. So if in June, July, they start to see cases, and they get lots of cases, and if the virus mutates and becomes more serious, or gets even milder, we'll have a better indication of what's going to happen later in the year.
We'll have to keep an eye on our friends down under. We'll have to leave it there. Doctor, thanks for your time.